Military vehicles are typically praised for their overbuilt features, which include size, firepower, and longevity. However, even among machines of amazing stature, some stand out for being constructed solely as all-conquering machines. These tanks show that military intervention knows no bounds, and some are still considered competent fighting machines, despite having served for decades. While not every tank design makes it to mass production, the majority of these vehicles perform action on the battlefield with different degrees of success. Although raw size doesn't necessarily translate to victory in battle, it certainly doesn't hurt to be larger and improved than one's opponent. And these so-called super heavy tanks arose from a variety of countries simply bent on outgunning their rivals. Some were successful, while others were not, but they all remain terrifying combat machines today. Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we are talking about the top biggest tanks in the world you may not know of. So, let's get going. T-28 Super Tank. In an instance of a massive tank being completed in prototype form, but never making it to the battlefield, the T-28 Super Tank owns the title of being the largest tank ever developed for the US military. Believing such a machine was needed to defeat Hitler's armies, it measured 11 meters long and weighed 95 tons loaded. TOG-2. The TOG-2 was the evolution of the British tank known as TOG-1, conceived based on the notion that rough terrain and challenging conditions similar to World War I would require a heavy-duty machine. The diesel V-12 powered tank never made it out of the prototype stage after World War II evolved in such a way it was deemed unnecessary. The T-30 tank. The T-30 was an American-made heavy tank that saw limited action due to its development concluding as the end of World War II drew near. Weighing in at 145,000 pounds, the T-30 was fitted with a massive 155mm main gun, with two machine guns offering support, essentially a stillborn design. The T-30 would have been a brute in wartime exercises. The Land Cruiser P-1500 Monster. The Land Cruiser P-1500 Monster existed on paper only, but it would have been a terrifying asset of deadly proportions had it been built conceived by German forces to carry an 800mm railgun. The monster would have been indeed just that, considering the weaponry would decimate almost any enemy. Panzer VIII Maus. The Panzer VIII Maus was another German tank that may have been big and bad, but it was also seriously heavy. Though the brute weighed in at almost 200 metric tons, it was also too heavy to reach anything approaching a cruising speed. It would have had a hard time crossing most bridges. Only two prototypes were built before Germany was overrun. M26 Pershing. After the venerable M4 Sherman was outgunned in World War II, the US military conceived the M26 Pershing, albeit too late to make its significant outcome on the war effort. However, this 46-ton machine served in combat missions in the Korean War and had an impressive track record when it came to destroying enemy tanks. Megatron Challenger 2. The British-built Challenger 2, sometimes referred to as Megatron, is a largely successful brute that is known for being heavily fortified against enemy fire. Thanks to a robust Cherubim armor system, the Challenger 2 has done tours in the Balkans and Operations Iraqi Freedom, but a speed machine it is not. It can only reach 37 miles per hour. M1 Abrams. The M1 Abrams is perhaps the most recognized of the US tank models, given it remains in service to this day. It is one of the heaviest tanks still in active service, weighing in at an impressive 68 tons. It may be an old dog at this point, but it is still an incredibly effective machine on the battlefield, a big reason why it hasn't been replaced. Leclerc main battle tank. The Leclerc is one of the better recognized French tanks, a 60-ton beast that can maneuver better than its weight might suggest, featuring a novel armor system to help protect against a variety of artillery. The Leclerc isn't seen much outside of France aside from the roughly 400 deployed in the UAE. Land Cruiser P-1000. And yet another German design exercise that never made it to mass production. The 1,000-ton Land Cruiser featured anti-aircraft guns and armor that was almost 10 inches thick. Like its sibling, the P-1500 Monster, the sheer weight and size of the P-1000 doomed the project from the start. K-Wagon. The K-Wagon was a super heavy tank born out of World War I, but faced the same challenges of later models: difficult to transport, lousy handling, and being too slow for its own good. King Tiger. While Germany may have had a fascination with increasingly large tanks and ammunition, the King Tiger was based firmly in reality and an immensely capable battlefield machine. It weighed in at 75 tons and featured a slope armor along with a highly effective 80mm cannon and agile handling, at least for a tank. Char 2C. The Char 2C gave France one of the most functioning super heavy tanks in the world. as it actually made it off the drawing board and into battle. Featuring a German-built V-12, it weighed 69 tons fully loaded. Like so many others, the tank was simply too big, making fast maneuvers difficult and becoming an easy target for enemy factions. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments down below. Till then, be safe and stay well.